Hey, aloha everyone. So today officially marks 3 weeks since the deadly fires in Lahaina. Now I lived right in the middle of Lahaina, just off of Front Street, which is basically the center of the disaster area. I was there the day of the fire and I got out just in time. I did do a video sharing my experience that day. Now by some miracle, my house and most of my neighborhood is still standing. So today I'm headed back to my house to grab a few personal belongings, and I figured I would take some video to show you what it looks like behind the dust fences inside the restricted area. We're also going to be taking a look at a portion of Front Street that completely survived the fire. I know a lot of people are trying to piece together what happened that day, and I think there might be some clues in my neighborhood and the surrounding area. Now the area we're headed into is considered part of the disaster zone, and only residents of these neighborhoods are allowed to enter at this time. I'll show you a map on screen to give you some perspective on what I'm talking about. So this is a map of Lahaina showing all the homes and buildings that were completely destroyed in the fire, shown in red. The gray dots are the buildings that survived. As you can see, my neighborhood is right in the center of all of the destruction, but most of the buildings are still gray. Okay, so this is my house in Kahoma Village. You can see that the house still looks pretty solid. There's a lot of damage to the fence around it, and of course the yard is completely trashed. But for the most part, the house is intact. Now, if you just swing over to across the street here, this whole neighborhood basically decimated, completely gone. That's right across the street from my place. Again, everything pretty much gone in that little area right next to Kahoma Village. Okay, so let me show you something that might have saved our life. If you watched my video where I talked about our escape from the fire, you saw a clip of a raging fire. It was right here. It was our neighbor's trash can and fence that ignited on fire. And that was our cue to get out of here. That's why we left when we did. And who knows, if we would have, spent another 10-15 minutes trying to gather our belongings, it might have been too late. And you can see that it's actually just the fence and the garbage can that burnt. Also hit the air conditioning unit there, but the house itself did not start on fire. So this is our neighbor's house. This is my house right here. The other neighbors are just fine as well. And here's another, I guess you'd call it an anomaly, is our garage door keypad. This has a cover on it, or it used to have a cover on it. And that's what the cover looks like right now. So completely charred. Looks like it was burning pretty heavily, but around it, the entire building around it looks like it's untouched. Okay, so walking down the street inside the neighborhood here, you can see some buildings were burnt completely to the ground, but most of them still standing. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are asking exactly how that could happen. Conspiracy theories aside, this neighborhood is really new. It was built in the last 2 or 3 years, so it has updated construction materials. The hardy, I think it's the hardy board siding, which has a very high fire rating. So that, I'm sure, contributed to saving a lot of the buildings here. And also you'll notice there is no overhead power lines in the community. So since it's a newer community again, they did all the site work, they put underground electrical. And a lot of the fires, I believe, started from down power lines and old building codes. So again, here's This is one of the townhomes in Kahoma Village. So Kahoma Village is a combination of single-family homes and townhomes. It has about 50% of it was affordable housing, so designated for workforce housing. This is one of the townhomes that completely burnt to the ground. You can still see washer and dryer units, hot water tanks. These are all hot water tanks for the units. And this is, of course, the mechanical unit for the air conditioning. So a lot of the heavy metal appliances made it. Everything that was metal looks like you can still recognize it, but for the most part it's burnt to ashes. Okay, so this is really interesting. One of the single-family homes was completely burnt down in the middle of a lot of other homes that are still standing. I'm just going to spin around here so you can see the whole picture. And to give you a little orientation, this is Opakea. You see the condo development off in the distance. That's across the highway. So it's across the street, and there's a number of buildings in that community that also burnt down, but some of them did survive. Okay, so this is the same townhome building that we were looking at earlier. I'm just going to walk around a little bit from here. It is strange that, you know, there's buildings that were completely burnt to the ground in the center of the community. This is basically right in the middle of Kahoma Village. And then around it, most of the houses are still standing. You can still see green vegetation. You know, it's been 3 weeks almost since the fire, so no water. A lot of the grass is starting to turn yellow, and a lot of plants are starting to die, but they did survive the fire. So, and here's another townhome building that clearly is still standing. Okay, so this is also interesting. A couple cars here that were completely burned up right next to one of the townhomes, and you can see the melted metal. So that was a really hot fire for sure. These cars are completely burnt up. Makes sense because it's right next to a building. I'm sure that fire was really hot. But then you do have a car here that was also next to that same building that did not fully ignite. It's just kind of melted in the front. And here's another one completely burnt up. And here's a car, of course, completely burnt up. You can see it melted the glass. And like I was showing you before, it has, I don't know, I think that's, I'm not sure what kind of metal that is, maybe an aluminum that melts a little bit easier than the steel. But right next to it, it looks like you can see there's some sort of explosion, potentially, right next to this car. So the damage here is from the explosion and the fire right next to it. Otherwise, basically untouched. Okay, so here's a row of homes that is basically the center of Kahoma Village. you can see the whole row basically untouched. Lots of, you know, evidence of the wind. So there was extremely high winds that day. Even in this community, you can see the all the trees tipped over. Here's another tree that was blown over by the wind. Some more there. Does have a little bit of an eerie feeling here. It feels a little bit like a ghost town. You only see a few people here at a time. I will say that the National Guard and the Maui Police Department seem to be doing a really good job of patrolling this area to make sure that there's no looters or anything like that. Since I've been here, it seems like every 5 minutes there's either a military vehicle or a cop car that has driven by. So definitely appreciate that, because that would be a major concern for an area like this that is blocked off. But so far I haven't heard of anybody that has had any looting or vandalism or anything like that happen yet. So I just want to show you real quick these tanks. These are water tanks that were dropped off drinking water right in our neighborhood. I do know that there were a few people that were trying to move back into their homes, the ones that have solar power on their roofs and batteries. Not a great idea, you know, with all the toxic fumes and everything that's around. You can definitely smell the ash in the air, and my skin actually starts to get irritated here, you know, within 30 minutes of being in the area. It's definitely not a place I would want to spend a lot of time. I come and go, you know, maybe spend an hour and a half at a time just grabbing stuff and documenting, but for the most part, yeah, this area is not safe to live in because of all the destruction around it. By the way, that's Front Street right there. That's the Jehovah's Witness building, and you can see that that building is still standing. Okay, so here is Front Street. That's looking south, just outside of our neighborhood. There's the Jehovah's Witness building, and I'm gonna drive down Front Street towards Safeway right now, and you can see there's certain areas that just look like nothing happened. And again, this is right in the center of Lahaina. Every direction, buildings are burnt down completely to ash. That's the road to Baby Beach, the Jodo Missions back there. See the Jesus Coming Soon building still standing. Snorkel Bob's still standing. This is the bridge going over the Kahoma Stream. There's the stream. This is the Cannery Mall. So Long's Drugs, Safeway, a bunch of little stores in there. Basically untouched. Old Lahaina Luau. Now, if there was ever a building that you thought might have or should have gone up in flames just because of how flammable the material is, it'd be the grass roofs here. But it looks like Old Lahaina Luau is still intact. Star Noodle. This is where Frida's was before Frida's went out of business. And Honu and Mala. This is the back of Safeway. and that's the Decline building. Now I really am not allowed to go beyond that gate right there, but you can see if I zoom in a little bit that beyond here is completely devastated. All the buildings from here on are completely burnt down. Just gonna turn around. This is still Front Street. We're heading south on Front Street right now. We're going to pull into the Cannery Mall here. A lot of damaged trees and trees blown over in this area, but no fire damage at the Cannery Mall. You can see again Cannery Mall. This is Denny's, Safeway. I'm sitting in the parking lot right now, and across the street towards Waiakuli, all the homes burnt down in that direction. Hey, aloha everyone. So in my last video, I showed a part of my neighborhood that mostly survived the Lahaina fire. Since then, I've been given some additional footage from other people that shows the surrounding area that was mostly destroyed. This is an area that I walk through from my house just about every day, and it's hard for even me to recognize what was essentially my backyard. So I'm also going to use Google Street View to try to give you a little perspective on how these areas looked before the fire. Let's take a look, and keep in mind that not all of this footage was mine, so it's a little shaky. So we're going to start in an area that I walk through pretty much every day to head to the beach. This footage is one row of houses in from Baby Beach in Lahaina. This area is also right behind the Lahaina Jodo Mission, which is a Japanese-style Buddhist temple. Most people recognize that as a pretty prominent landmark. So notice the round poles to the left of the screen here. I believe that was a carport, and you will see when we go to the Google Street View something that looks very similar and gives you a good perspective on exactly where we're standing now. If you're curious, the names of the streets here, we're standing on Halipaka Place right now, looking towards the ocean and walking towards Puanoa Place. Okay, so the stop sign we're walking up on now is the intersection of Puanoa Place and Halipaka Place. As you spin to the right here, we're going to be looking at one of the beach access paths to Baby Beach. This was a popular path for people coming from my neighborhood to access the beach. Okay, so now let's compare what we just saw to what it looks like on Google Earth. Is that the same van that we saw in the beginning of the previous clip? Also, notice the rounded carport that I had pointed out in the previous video. From here, we're going to scroll down Halipaka Place, taking essentially the same path that was shown in the video. Okay, so this is Baby Beach, just off of Front Street, looking towards Kaanapali now, and swinging towards the south side. This is what the beach looks like after the fire. You can see some trees down. Behind this fence is the old Lahaina Jodo Mission, the Buddhist temple. There's the cemetery. You can see those historical temple buildings did burn down, but the Buddha is still standing. Okay, so again we're back to Google Street View to see what this area looked like before the fire. Now this isn't the exact same location as where the video was taken from, but it's pretty close and gives you a good idea of what it looked like before. Okay, so here's another clip starting essentially from right next to my house in Kahoma Village, crossing Kanui Street and headed into the Front Street apartments. As I had pointed out in my previous video, pretty much the entire surrounding area from my neighborhood was completely destroyed, and this is conclusive video evidence that that is the truth. From here, the person taking the video turned around and started heading back towards my house at Kahoma Village. At the end of this video, you'll actually see exactly where my house is in relation to this neighborhood. So I just want to share that it is not my intention to stir controversy with my videos. My goal is to bring awareness to what is actually happening on Maui here on the ground. My last video sparked a heated debate about how the fire started and has over 400,000 views and nearly 6,000 comments. If everyone that viewed that video donated just $10 to the families impacted by the fire, we'd be raising $4 million. To be clear, I am not collecting donations myself, but I will be providing links to a few reputable charities in the description below. It doesn't matter if you're donating $1 or $10,000, every little bit helps. Aloha everyone. So today marks 2 weeks since the devastating fire in Lahaina, and I still have a lot of people reaching out to me asking how they can help if they don't live on Maui. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 ways you can support Maui from a distance. Number 1, offer monetary donations to your favorite Maui-based charity, or better yet, if you know someone that was personally affected by the fire, please donate directly to them. Websites like GoFundMe and Venmo make it very easy to make sure money is going to the right place. Feel free to write your favorite charity or GoFundMe account in the comments below to bring awareness to it. Number 2, if you own a home or condo on Maui that is vacant or unused, offer it up as a long-term rental to someone who is displaced by the fire. We had a shortage of housing on Maui before this crisis, and it will get much worse after so many of the homes were lost in the fire. Many of the people displaced by the fire are currently in temporary housing at hotels, but we will struggle to find enough long-term solutions in the coming weeks, months, and years. Number 3, come visit Maui and support our local economy. In case you haven't heard, Maui is open. Lahaina and Maui's west side are closed for now, but the rest of the island is in need of your support. Our local economy relies on tourism, and the people of Maui need to keep businesses and their jobs so they can continue to help friends and family that were affected by the fire. Just make sure you're coming with a spirit of aloha and that you are intentional with how you spend your money by supporting small businesses and, of course, tipping everyone in the service industry as well. Number 4, share this video. Let's spread the message that Maui still needs your help now and will need your continued support far into the future.